lead follow-up schedule. So you guys are doing such an amazing job of working the leads. Today, we're going to talk about how often you ought to or you want to follow up with these leads. Okay. So this is very simple. It's really, it's something that you definitely want to make sure that you have it, you're implemented, especially when you are having conversations with the agents and they're telling you they're 60 days out, they're 90 days out, they're 6 months out, they're 2 years out, right? This is something that I've used. A lot of other top producing agents, team leaders use the same type of a model, right? I did not reinvent this. I did not invent this. I just copied this from someone that I coached with maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. Okay. It works for me and hopefully it works for you as well. Okay. So we categorize follow-up sequence or schedule into 3 different categories, right? We have hot leads, we call them A's. We have nurtures, we call them B's. And we have watch leads, we call them C's. If you guys are using Sync CRM, on the left side, you will find tags for each of them. Okay, so for example, I know hots, we have it in red. The nurtures, we have them I think in green, and watch, I think we have them in yellow, right, Alberto? I think that's that.
Yeah, that's how they're color coded on the
Okay,
labels.
right. So anything that is hot, basically they're ready to sell or they're ready to buy a home. Like, they're ready to sell or buy, right? Buy a home immediately in 30 days. Like, so if you're talking to someone, right, and they're like, well, we already got pre-qualified, we just need to find a house. They're a hot lead. They're a hot lead, right? So with those, I mean, those usually go on my whiteboard. Those are usually go in front of me on maybe a sticky. Those are usually with me in my car. And of course, they're also in my CRM. Like, those are in front of me every single day. Like, if you look at Alberto's desk, in addition to having them in his CRM, he's got a little baby whiteboard, okay? And he's got all of his hot leads. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alberto. All of your hot leads on that whiteboard, okay? Susan, tell him you can call back later.
It's a joint request for my listing.
Okay. Damn, you get those chime requests every time there's a listing request? I mean, a showing request?
Yeah, I get the calls.
Oh my goodness. I just put them on silent.
I know, I think next time I'm gonna do automatic.
Yeah, just do automatic, trust me.
Yeah.
They're vacant, right? Are they vacant?
Yeah, it's vacant.
Yeah, just do automatic.
Yeah.
Just automatic. So having in front of you is going to really help you out, guys, to be more organized. And also, again, just having them in front of you is not going to, allow you to kind of forget about them. And sometimes it happens. Life gets in the way. Things happen. We're getting busier and busier. We're having more showings. We're negotiating contracts. We're putting out fires. It happens. And trust me, I've been there and I'm still dealing with it, right? So having it in front of you means a lot. It's going to mean a lot to you. Okay. So when I have a hot lead, I want to make sure that they hear from me or they see something from me, right? Or they get a text from me at least once every 2 days or 3 days. Like, you can follow up with a hot lead, especially if you don't have many other hot leads. You can follow up with a hot lead every single day. So every day when MLS sends out property alerts, or every single day when Sync sends out property alerts, you definitely want to send them a quick text and say, hey, just wanted to make sure we send you a couple of properties, take a look at them. Do you want to see any of them in person? Okay, so you got to be constantly like, and I don't want to use the word hounding them, but that's really what our job is. We want to make sure that we get them to the finish line. And the way we do that is we're constantly making sure that they're hearing from us, they're seeing our stuff, they're seeing our text, right? And we're getting to go and show them homes. Okay. So when you're talking to a lead in sync, make sure you utilize hot as a category. It's in red. You're not going to be able to miss it. Okay. What I also do is if like I do have like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 hot leads, I can actually filter by saying, hey, Sync, show me all the hot leads by just clicking on that tag. And it's just going to show me all of the hot leads that I have. That helps me as well. But again, having a little whiteboard in addition to it, having something in front of you will definitely be beneficial. Okay. No less than every 7 days. You want to follow up no less than every 7 days. Now, you may have some of these hot leads that will go a little bit cold or maybe a little bit warm, right? That's okay. That's fine. You can always move them to nurtures. You can always move them to watch. Did I spell nurture correctly, by the way? Is that spelled correctly? Nurture. Just want to make sure. Okay. You know, English is my second language. You know, not the first one, like Susan's and Martha's, right? And Alberto's. And where's Ricardo, by the way? I haven't seen Ricardo. Where's Ricardo?
Hey. He actually talked to me the other day. He's taking his, I think he's taking his mom to the hospital or something.
Oh, that's right.
For a doctor.
Conversation with him a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Okay, got it. Okay, so we're recording this session so he can view it. All right. Any questions about the hot leads, guys? No?
Yeah, okay. and like Alan said, definitely, like, you know, if things happen, if things change, just always remember to move them down a notch. You know, if that's what happens, if they're now a nurture, move them to nurture. If they're now a watch, move them to watch, because you don't want to go through your filters and have 20 hots and only 8 of them are really hot, and then all the other ones we just never moved them down. You know, so definitely just keep an eye on that, because you know, because I think there's drip campaigns that are assigned to the you know, to the labels, right? Like there's a hot campaign and a nurture campaign, so it starts like emails and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, you can create your own labels if you want to. I usually tend to leave the hot leads alone. Like I don't want any automated emails or text to go out because I'm the one who's communicating with that lead. Like I don't want the system to send them something. They're like, wait a minute, Alan, I just spoke to her like 10 minutes ago. You're sending me something else? Like they're confused, right? So we want to make sure that when it comes to hot leads, we don't want any drips, except, of course, property alerts. Those are the ones you want to go out, okay? But as far as the drips and text messages, it's you. It's coming from you, okay? All right, nurtures. Nurtures are ready to sell or buy in the next 60 to 90 days, okay? 60 to 90 days. So give me some examples, Alberto, of nurtures.
Yeah, so I think a nurture would definitely be someone who's like, who's been working with the bank, who knows what their credit score needs to be at, who knows where their monetary goal needs to be at. And, you know, they're saying, hey, look, our lease is up in 3 months. Or maybe even, you know, maybe even 4 months, because I always tell them, hey, look, a 30-day escrow, that's going to take a month at least, you know. So if you want to be moved in or start the process that's really going to determine where we're at. So if they're literally just waiting for the end of their lease, if they're literally just waiting for them to save up that last bit of cash and, you know, they're pretty much pre-qualified, and it's going to take them about a couple months or a little bit more, then that's a nurture. You know, it's maybe not definite that they're going to buy in you know 2 or 3 months, but that's the goal. That's where they're going for. That's their nurture. Now they know for a fact, you know, hey, it's going to take us way longer than 3 months or more than 3 months. You know, you can move on to watch. But yeah, I would say anybody who's about to get ready to hit that I'm ready to buy or I'm ready to sell in the next couple of months, that would be a nurture for sure.
Right. And your goal really is to move them up. Ideally, you want to move them down, right? So you want to move your watch leads to your nurture leads and then ultimately to your hot leads, right? It's almost kind of like a assembly line, right? You know, progress 1, 2, and 3, and then ultimately the finish line, right? It's a sales funnel. It's a sales funnel. All right. Alberto, if you don't mind sharing with the group, I mean, what's some of the follow-ups type of messages or conversations you may have with the nurture leads when you call them or text them?
Yeah, so the first thing I do is obviously, one, make sure they're still getting my stuff, that I promised I was going to be sending them. Two, get an update on what's going on with their ability to sell or to buy. So if they're trying to relocate or whatever, I make sure I get an update on what's going on with that. If they're a buyer, I make sure that I ask them, hey, has the lender reached out to you? Where are we at with the lending process? Are we still looking, in 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is? And then the other important thing is I always tell them, like, hey, since we're getting closer to our date, just know that I'm going to turn up the frequency in my emails, and I'm probably going to call you a little bit more frequently, just so that way we're in touch as we get closer. Now, when we do get closer, if I haven't set up a buyer's consultation or a listing appointment at this point, which I probably should have, but if I haven't, because they've been a watch forever and now they're finally at that nurture stage and about to become a hot, that's when I set it up. That's when I definitely set it up. I'm like, hey, look, we've been working for a while now. We're finally about to get ready. So how about we set up an appointment, and then we can go over the buying process or selling process, so that way we can hit the ground running when it's time for us to go live.
Okay. Would you still show homes to a nurture lead?
Honestly, I only show them if they're pre-qualified and ready to do something. I don't know if I would show it to a nurture lead personally. I don't know. Would you recommend that?
I mean, it's completely up to you. I'm a huge believer that you have to lead with value. Okay, so one of the most important values that we can present to them and give them, at least in the initial stages, is securing that appointment. And the way we secure that appointment is, yeah, you can invite them to the office, you can invite them for a cup of coffee, right? But ultimately, they want to see a house or two, right? So by showing them a house or two or three, that's going to give you the ability to make a connection with them, to hopefully build a rapport with them, show them value, what you have to bring to them, right? In addition to just showing them homes, right? Introducing to a lender. And now from that point on, they know you, the connected name with your face, they like you, they trust you, they respect your knowledge and expertise. So now I think going forward, a follow-up is going to be very smooth, right? Versus, still kind of unknown. They go, who's Alberto dude? Yeah, he's calling me every 2 weeks, but like, I don't know how he looks. I don't know where he lives. I don't know you see what I'm saying? Like, so if you do have an opportunity to meet with them, right? And if you're seeing someone and you had a conversation with them and you're seeing someone actually looking multiple homes, right? And they want to go out there and they want to check out a house or two. Again, it's completely up to you, though. Like, you're running your own business. But if you're not like super busy with other buyers, if you're not super busy doing other things, right? Show them a house. Show them a house or two. I mean, that's the way I would at least get my business to the point where I have like 5 or 6 or 7 buyers that I'm working with, right? Now, if I got a bunch of buyers, now obviously then you have to say, well, I don't really have a time to meet with someone who's like 60 or 90 days away or 120 days away, right? It's up to you, right? But if you feel like, man, I just need to get in front of one buyer a week, I just need to get in front of one buyer every other week, man, the best way to do it is meet them. And how do you meet them? Offer to show them a house. Was I able to answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Who's here doing that, by the way? Just out of curiosity, who's here when you're calling the lead and you have a good conversation with that lead and you see they're looking, let's say, they're looking at a bunch of homes and everything like that, and maybe they're like 60, 90 days away. Who's just says, hey, you know what? I'm available tomorrow afternoon if you want. Let's go and check it out, a couple of these houses. Who's doing that here?
I am.
I am.
Okay, so Susan's doing it. Who else?
Faye.
Faye's doing it. All right. Who else?
Parker.
Parker. Okay. All right. So if I may ask Susan, how many deals are you closing right now a month?
Average 2.
Average. 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Parker, how many deals are you closing a month?
1 and growing.
1 and growing. Okay. And then Faye, I know we talked about this, I think, during our one-on-one 90-day planning session, right?
Right.
We discussed that. We said, hey, you know what? Instead of kind of, offering them to create a custom search and this or that, like, which you can still do, like, hey, like, I see you're looking at this house. I see you looking at this house. I got availability tomorrow. Do you want to go and take a look at it? Boom. Get it to the point. Get it to the point and get in front of them, right? Because ultimately, that's what we want. We want to get in front of that buyer. We want to get in front of that buyer. I mean, essentially, we're doing the same thing with open houses, if you think about it. I mean, we're going out there, we're meeting a buyer. We don't even know if he or she's a buyer. We don't know if they're like serious, not serious. We don't know if they're like hot buyer or they're a watch buyer. We don't know that. We're still meeting with them.
And you don't know if they have a house to sell too.
We don't even know exactly. We don't know if they have a house to sell, right? So what I'm saying is, don't complicate things, right? If you see somebody and you had a good conversation with them, schedule a showing appointment. Convenience for them and the ability for you to meet them in person. Okay, so that's nurtures, guys. 60 to 90 days out, follow up every 15 days. Okay, schedule the reminder. You want to make sure you do this every 2 weeks. You follow up with. All right, number 3, watch leads. Ready to sell or buy in the next 90 days. Alberto, how many watch leads do you have in your database?
A lot.
Okay, all right. So what is the most common objection or objections that you hear and you're getting from them when you're actually connecting with them or talking to them, right? I mean, what are you hearing from them? What are they telling you?
Obviously, I think the more common one is, oh yeah, I'm at least a year out. I'm not ready yet. I'm just thinking about moving to Arizona yet. Not sure. Got to sell my house first because it's not on the market yet. That's usually the most common. Obviously, you'll get the other ones, but those are the more common ones that I keep getting. Not ready yet, maybe in a year. Pretty much, yeah. That's when I automatically put it to watch.
Yeah. So guys, what do you ask them if they tell you they're not ready yet? If they're like a year out or 6 months out, 8 months out, what do you ask them? One question.
What needs to happen?
Yeah, what needs to happen, right? In order for you two guys to be ready. Right? So with those, obviously, hopefully you're going to get to the root of their objection, why they cannot act right now, why they cannot buy right now. Okay. And by asking that question, you're going to be able to get to that root, right? But then what you want to do is, and by the way, this is where you can make a fortune. This is where you're going to make a fortune. This right here, a lot of these buyers, when they're hot already, most likely they're already working with the agent. They are already taken by someone else. Now, you still have an opportunity, right? For instance, I know Ricardo had a great conversation with a buyer late last week. He was working with the agent. He was not happy with the agent. He felt like that agent is not responding and not really communicating with him. So Ricardo reached out to me and said, Alan, how do I approach the situation? And I said, look, schedule a meeting with him. Schedule a meeting with him and let him know that you're completely opposite of that agent, that you will work around his schedule, that you're going to be super responsive. You want to earn his business. And he did. He scheduled a meeting. He went out, met him, had a great conversation. And that person said, that buyer said, yeah, I want to work with you. Okay. So there's opportunity there, even with the ones that are, I have a realtor, I'm working with a realtor. Okay. But most of you guys are going to be playing in this pond right here. realistically. Realistically, you're going to be working with a lot of these leads right here. These are 90-day plus leads. There's a good and there's a bad with these. The good is the fact that most of them are not working with an agent. The not so good is the fact that it takes time. It takes a lot of nurturing. Requires follow-up sequences, follow-up systems, right? But if you can get this thing dialed in, and again, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a week or two. It took me a year to figure this out, because the first 5 or 6 months when I started buying online leads, like I was like, dude, this is a waste of my time. Why is this? Like these guys are like 8 months away, 9 months away. But when I figured this out, and this is a combination of me following up with them, allowing sync, sending them emails, text messages. Right now we have AI with Alexa that will do some work for you guys. You can make a lot of money in this field right here, in follow-ups. Alberto, the people that you're working with right now, majority of them, okay, were they initially C's or they were like A's?
Yeah, no, majority were definitely C's to begin with.
Okay, all right, and why do you think they at the end decided to work with you versus 40 plus other thousand agents out there? Like, what was the reason, you feel like?
Well, a lot of them will tell me, hey man, you're the only one who called me back. You're the only one who kept emailing me. You're the only one who called me and texted me like they promised they would, And it was funny because a lot of the times, if it was like a really long watch, like a year or two, because there's people I followed up with like, 2 years, and now we're ready to do something. And they always tell me, it's like, hey dude, you're the only one who called me back, who stayed in touch and didn't give up. And they're really grateful for it. When they feel like you didn't give up on them and everybody else did, like they're going to be loyal to you till the end. So
Yeah. I mean, same thing with me. I mean, most of my business came from a lot of C's, from a lot of watch leads, right? And I follow up every 30 days. Like if they're like a year out, I mean, you can move them to every 2 months or every 3 months if you wanted to, right? But you still want to follow up with them, and that's really going to be the differentiator for you guys, is the fact that you're diligently, systematically, consistently following up with them. And the cool thing about our system is the fact that you can schedule these reminders and they will appear on that day where you got to follow up with them. You don't have to keep everything ready here. That's why it's so important for you guys to add the notes and then schedule the reminders, so that day when you got to call them, it appears in front of you. Say, hey, call this guy up. You read the notes from 2 months ago, from 3 months ago. Awesome. I had conversation about him, about this, about that, about that. Let me follow up with him.
Yeah, like what I like to do, Alan, especially like you said, for the people that are a year out, I'll tell them, hey, I get your year out. Let me set everything up for you. I'll send it to you once a month. Let me follow up with you in a couple of weeks, make sure you're getting it. And then after that, I'll follow up with you every quarter until we get closer to your date. And then I'll probably, intensify a little bit, but I'll let you know. And then like you said, the reminders are crucial because you don't want to keep it in the back of your head and try to remember 3 months later, oh, I got to call, Joe Buyer or whatever. Yeah. You put the reminder up 3 months later, boom, it pops up and it tells you. And I like to put a little summary of my previous conversation. Spoke to him, 3 months ago, not ready yet. Just quarterly follow up, get feedback, see where we're at. So that way I don't have to go back in the notes and read what the last conversation is. I just go straight to the reminder. Okay, there's a summary, call them, and then, So I if it's a year out, what I like to do is I like to set the first 3 reminders. So I'll set them out 3 months apart. So that way when 3 months happen, I don't have to set up another 3 months apart. It's like clockwork. It's like, okay, 3 months from now, I'm going to call them, follow up, and another 3 months, call them, follow up. And then after that, it'll go to 2 months, and then it'll go to 1 month, since we're going to start getting closer to that time frame. I want to make sure as we start getting closer to the end of that year that I'm being really aggressive and getting a hold of them, before anybody else swoops in and, and talks to them, because they're probably going to go back on all these other websites and start looking and registering again.
Yeah. And just to kind of reiterate what Alberto just said right now, like when he has that initial conversation with them and he sets up a custom search for them, he doesn't forget and call them after 3 months. He actually follows up with them after a week or two later, right? to make sure that they're actually getting those properties, because there are times when your emails end up in their spam box. So here you're thinking that they're getting emails from you, but in reality, it goes to their spam box, and they're thinking is like, oh, you know what? I spoke to Alberto, and he said he's going to be sending me things, and he hasn't since. Like he's probably forgot about us. You see, and trust me, I've been there before. I learned those lessons, right? So do not rely on the system. Like follow up with them after about a week or so, or 2 weeks, and say, hey, just making sure you're getting my emails.